Namaste, good morning, and welcome to another session of a Young Science Leader program. I am Dr. Nitin Trivedi. Welcome you all. So today we have Dr. Ravi Kumar with us. He is at present Assistant Professor at the Department of Chemistry, Central University of Kerala since 2013. And he obtained his PhD in Physical Chemistry from University of Hyderabad in 2011. Uh, he received a postdoctoral fellowship in Indo-Europe Escort Project, Inorganic and Physical Chemistry Division at CSIR IICT Hyderabad from 2011 to 2013. She obtained, he obtained his MSc in Chemistry from University of Hyderabad in 2005 as a gold medalist, and his research interest includes the sensitizers for dye, sensitized solar cells, fluorescensors, electron and energy transfer reactions of EDA molecules, a steady state and time resolved fluorescence spectroscopy, fluorescent organonanoparticles for photonic application. So we welcome you, Dr. Ravi, and today the session is moderated by Ms. Pompey. So I request Ms. Pompey to introduce yourself and then welcome our today's speaker. Over to you, Ms. Pompey.
Nitin, could you exit your window?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ms. Pompey is having some issues with microphone. So it doesn't matter. We will wait for her till once the speaker finishes the speech. And first of all, thank you so much, for coming here and sparing your precious time. We are really humbled to have you, sir. And I'm excited to hear your story from your journey from Andhra Pradesh and to the Central University of Kerala and the life journey. We are anxiously waiting to hear your story. Please, you may start your presentation now.
Thank you, Dr. Felix, and thank you, Dr. Nitin, for your kind invitation. And I felt this is an excellent opportunity and platform to share some of my life journey that I have so far now. It was not so easy for me to reach the Central University of Kerala. So let me have my presentation, very short presentation. I hope all of you can see my presentation, right?
Yes, it's perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. Well, I belong to a place called Yalavaru. This is a place very close to Tenali, 20 kilometers away. And the Tenali, I hope that most of you would know that this is a Tenali Raman. Tenali Raman was the birthplace of Tenali Raman was the Tenali. And then, so my native place is away from that. However, to reach that remote area, it's 20 kilometers nowadays, it's not a big deal. But then the roads, what we have even till today is not so nice. So that is where I have come from. And I am very proud, from the same village, one of the prestigious and greatest scientists has come out. I have not known his greatness, till my PhD. I know some of the stories that I heard from my parents, but this is the great scientist produced from that village, Alavarthin Ayudamma. He was a chemical engineer, and he served as the principal secretary to the government, central government, and he was the founding director of the Central Leather Research Institute located in Chennai. He also served as the CSR Director General for some time, 5 years. Coming to, that's all about my native place. It's a very remote area where you don't have proper access, especially with regard to the roads and transportation. My parents, you can see here, and my parents are, they have not studied, they don't have any formal education, they are illiterate. And then I am one of the 4 children. I have 2 brothers and then 1 sister. So altogether we are 4. And my family profession is agriculture. and we go to the agriculture paddy field for daily wage, and then whatever we earn with that we survive. That's how my childhood was. And we don't have any resources other than the God's given health. Without that we don't have any other resources. We don't have any proper properties or any agricultural land. However, I am very happy that I could reach this place, this position. I just want to give you a brief journey starting from where I have studied my primary school and up to PhDs. I studied my primary and the upper primary school. That means up to 7th standard in my same village. And thereafter, my struggle started. As I said, since it is a remote place, we don't have proper access, and then either direction you have to go. At least minimum is the 3 kilometer, maximum is the 5 kilometer for your next education. To study, that means 10th standard. So that is the thing. So we normally, the people in that particular village, we go to the eastern direction because that is the shortest 3 kilometer, and there is a government high school. So there I have studied my 10th standard. And then, going to that 3 kilometer itself is a big cumbersome task for me. As you know, that the Tenali and then Guntur, all these districts are called as a rice bowl of India. And main agriculture is the rice cultivation. And because of the delta, the fertile land, you have a lot of black soil. And most of the roads are with the black soil. So basically, we have to go to the school on a canal, branch of a canal, and then either direction you will have a canal, and we have to go to the school in the mud roads, and we have the access only through that mud road, and there is nothing. Despite of all this difficulty, we were going very happily, and not only myself, we are 20 children, 20 children. Together we go together, and then we studied I studied the 10th standard. So just after 10th standard, my father wanted some kind of employment, quick employment, because of the family issues, as he is facing a lot of issues to get bread and butter to survive. So he expected me to study and also to get quick employability. So after 10th standard, I joined for the professional, the diploma course, because the diploma course, if you finish 3 years, you will get some employability. So that was his mandate and his desire initially, and I joined without much compelling him or whatever his desire, I just obeyed. And then after joining, I got a nice rank, and then I joined in Vizag. In Vizag, I joined a course, petrochemicals, a diploma course. However, I could not continue for a long time because Vizag, even now, it is a very expensive city. And unfortunately, what happened, even though I got a government seat means that you will have a hostel facility, and then you will have everything. So that Polytechnic College had a lot of courses. Therefore, newly started very interesting course like petrochemicals, oils and plastics, polymer technologies. These are the newly started branches. They have separated from the main diploma college. Therefore, I have joined. I have no idea because the counseling place and then that counseling place is different. So therefore, I have no idea. Physically, I have not seen. But since petrochemicals is something it was interesting, so I just picked up. But later, when I go to the college, then I realized it is very expensive. So to survive 1 month, you require at least 1,000 rupees. How do my father actually earn 1,000 rupees and give to me to survive in entirely different place, Vizag? As you know, that Vizag is a 6 hour journey from the place at Tenali. It is north tip of the coastal Andhra Pradesh. So very difficult for me to survive there because he is unable to give the money, whatever I wanted to stay outside and then pursue my education. Even though education was free because of my high rank, but the staying outside was a bit cumbersome job. So therefore I had to come back And then there was an about 1 year almost, I have not studied anything, but then as we are struggling for bread and butter, so I started helping my father and my parents. And then I was going to all kinds of the harvesting jobs, and it was very difficult for me to do all those things, but that was very fantastic time. I even now I feel it was a fantastic time, because to realize myself, what I am, what is my family, and what I am supposed to do. So these are the things that 1 year learned me, because I felt studying is the best option that I have than working in paddy fields. Because you just imagine a situation, if you are working at the, especially in summer, working in summer is very, very tedious, very, very difficult task. And the temperature is crossing, usually it will be above 40 degrees, and above 40 degrees, you have to do all these harvesting jobs, threshing, howling, all these jobs we have to do. And then, a lot of dust goes inside your nose, and then that gives you a lot of trouble and health issues in a prolonged time. But that overall, that 1 year was very, very, for me, it was an excellent period, as I realize now. Later on, I decided, I have to choose a course which does not, create much problem to my father and my parents. Therefore, I decided to go for a traditional education, that is, plus two, plus one and plus two, and thereafter a degree course. And then again, I'm in a dilemma where I should go. So I did not decide anything, but it was my father actually. He decided where to go. Uh, when I reached my intermediate and degree class, now my village started getting some kind of transportation, especially the bus. From Tenali, there was a bus, and it will run for 2 trips in a day, morning and evening. So, and the many of my friends who studied along with me, they started going to Tenali, because Tenali is a town and taluk where you have much better colleges are available. However, my father thought in a different way. Tenali has, since it is a town, it has got a lot of cinema theaters, and then various other recreation things are there. Therefore, he decided, let my son study in a place where he is having less interference with these cinema halls and all. Therefore, he took me to this particular college, Velagapudi Ramakrishna Memorial College, which is 25 kilometers from the place where I studied 10th standard. So altogether, it was 28 kilometers away this place. And again, the journey, my journey again, morning it will start by walking and on the mud roads, and then I will reach this particular place, Govada, and then from there I will take a bus, because from Tenali to this particular place, Nagaram, there are buses available, and then I take bus and then I go there. And again, up to certain place, the road is very nice, but then afterwards it was again mud road, and then many times we had a situation, we have to walk to reach the college, or the bus all of a sudden, because of the sudden flood, water will be overflowing from one side to the other direction, so the bus will automatically stop over there. So the passengers will be asked to leave, by walk. We have to walk and then to reach our places. That's how my journey went on. But this particular college, I learned a lot. This was a place, even now I feel, it is like a holy place for me, because it has got everything. And then the teachers are so nice, and they help me a lot to understand the subject in a better way. That's where my journey started. And then afterwards, then I was studying, I was very sure in my degree level itself. Then because of my teachers, I wanted to become a lecturer. That was my first ambition. When I was in B.Ed, I wanted to be a lecturer in college, not in a schools. Therefore, I wanted to do a PG program, because PG was the minimum eligibility at that time. So I thought to go for PG. For PG, I have no other option. We have Andhra universities available. So I'm pretty sure that I will be getting, because I was very studious in my BSc. I'm the topper. Therefore, I did not find any problem in getting securing a seat. So, however, my life turned little turn. I had to go to Andhra University, and then from there, my journey went to the prestigious School of Chemistry, University of Hyderabad. And initially I joined there, but then these results came much later, 1 month delayed. Therefore, after getting the seat, since people advised me that this is a pretty good central university with lots of facilities, you must opt this. Therefore, I took a TC, and then I went to the University of Hyderabad, and I joined there. And the rest actually becomes the history. What I am today, that is mainly because of my that particular point. Then, coming to the what exactly motivated me to study. As I said, my social and economical status of my family is the main driving force for me to pursue study. I have seen, and I'm a good observer, the society, and I like the people who actually proven. And if somebody is, if I come across somebody who has proven themselves, I admire them. So that's how I have seen many people in my village who studied little bit, a degree, and then secured job. They were given much respect than a person who is actually working in paddy field. So therefore, from my childhood, I wanted to study. And apart from that, my family itself a heterogeneous family, where before me in my family, my parents are, as I said, they are illiterate, but my grandfather also illiterate, but he has a strong determination to make his children to study. He could succeed only one person, that is my paternal uncle. He studied uh, MA B.Ed, and then he became the school teacher, and now he is working as the headmaster. So I have seen the treatment in the society, and also in the family who studied are given the most importance and respect. So I decided I want to study first to uplift my family, and later on to get some respects. So that was my primary motive. And then to pursue chemistry, and I should not forget these people. And he is my BSc teacher who taught me chemistry. As I mentioned that I studied +1 and +2, and up to the degree I studied in the same college. In the +2, I heard many stories about this particular teacher. He didn't teach me because the department is having several teachers. He was not teaching in the +2 level, +1 and +2 level. He was teaching only the degree level. I really enjoyed, after I joined the first BSc, I started, his teaching. He was so sincere, he is so dedicated, and he's crystal clear in explaining thoughts and then subject. And he's, well-read person. Apart from all these things, he's a well-read person. He's up to date, that's where, I really started becoming a, I became the great fan of him. And then I started studying more among the other two subjects. I have studied three major BSc, that is chemistry, physics, and maths. But then I give more importance to the chemistry, mainly because of this teacher. But the other teachers also equally good. But then somehow I was very much attracted to this particular teacher, and he never give up any experiment. That was the beauty. That is where I attracted more. And there is a one test in a BSc level, salt analysis, especially organic functional group analysis. There was a one test. Normally every laboratory they will skip phenyl isocyanate. But then he's the person, he taught us, and then I was the person to help him to test that. Because if you inhale, that particular phenyl isocyanate, then it's a poison, and then if you inhale, you will die. Even then also he takes utmost care, and then he taught us that particular experiment. Because unless you see, you feel, you smell, you cannot really be a chemist. That's what I learned from him. So later on, uh, the second motivation for me to pursue chemistry, obviously, it is actually the School of Chemistry, University of Hyderabad. as I mentioned, I was a topper in the college, but then I became a zero in the first class of Professor E.D. Jamis. He was the dean at that time. He took first class, and there is a course called mathematics for chemists, and he was teaching that particular course, and it's all about teaching few basic mathematics, which we learned already. If you have studied mathematics +2 level itself, you will come across. But then the kind of English he was speaking, we are unable to understand anything. He was teaching only the group theory of mathematics, but commutative property, associative property, etc. But then I could not follow anything. But I secured 150 out of 149 out of 150 in my BSc. So it strike to my mind. It is not that I am a hero somewhere, but then I have to prove myself, and I have to come up. Since I studied Telugu medium up to degree, then it was very much difficult for me to study in English and to understand what teachers are telling. So therefore, I spend a lot of time in watching, especially movies, and then discussing with my friends. I have made, out of 32, I have made with a couple of people a small group, and then with them, we are Telugu people, but then we started talking in English, whatever the Butler English that we know, I try to improve, and we all try to improve. And the teachers are so dedicated, and then the best part of this particular school is that it's like ready to serve. They are doing an excellent research, and then whatever research they do in the laboratory, the next day it will be taught to us. Whatever the research, new findings, it will be taught in our class. And what I have studied in the book, they are conventional subject, but then if you are not exposed to the latest updates in the subject, then you don't really enjoy, or you don't admire the subject. So, but these people are so dedicated persons, and they are teaching. They were doing excellent job at that time. I was so fortunate, getting seat and then studying there. And then I finished my MSc, and then later on, now I had to make a choice. I decided, there, whoever did the MSc, mostly they do two things. One is they will write GRE, and then they will go to US for doing MS and pursuing PhD further. And the second thing is they will crack the CSIR, and then they will join for PhD. These are the only two options. There is nothing else. So it is like life is like a automatically. You don't have to do anything, but your intentions and everything will go in that direction, because everybody around you are doing that thing. So you will also be doing the same thing. So my seniors are doing, therefore I have also followed them. I thought, okay, initially my goal was to become just a lecturer. Now I decided, let me become assistant professor somewhere else, for which the PhD is required. Then I realized in my first semester itself, I have to pursue PhD, for which I have to crack CSR. And, then after I cracked the CSR in my third semester itself, those days you are not permitted to do, unlike these days in the first year, only in the second year, in the third semester ending in the December session, we are allowed. And then I have written the exam, and we have cracked it. And later on, I have to take a choice where I have to join for PhD. And I have no other choice, because the teacher whom I like was actually organic chemist. Therefore, I thought, let me pursue further organic chemistry. And then he is the professor, M. Periyasamy. He is the Bhatnagari awardee, and he was the dean at that time when I finished my PhD also. And I have gone to him. And then I asked, sir, I wanted to join for PhD under your guidance, and I have very much interested in doing organic chemistry, and that too, whatever the organometallic chemistry that you are pursuing, I want to continue in my research. But he, anybody, at least nowadays I can say, anybody, if some student comes, we are very much happy. And if a JR of a student is coming, we are ready to take. If there is a vacancy, we are ready to take. But he is so excellent. He guided me, and that was another turning point in my life. And he told me that traditional organic chemistry has no life in future. And I myself at the verge of retiring, and I myself find difficulty in continuing the same thing. And I'm trying to do some kind of renewable energy. And your boss, actually for my MSc, as a part of my MSc, I have done project with this professor. Again, to choose this professor, I took something as a parameter, that was he's a Bengali, and to improve my English, and there is no other Bengali in that particular. I'm sorry. In this particular laboratory, we don't have any. We have all the Bengali research scholars, and few of other research scholars are there, but none from the Telugu background. Therefore, I thought, I had to basically interact with them in the English. So in the process, I thought, like, I can improve my skills, and I can improve my communication skills. So that will be very much helpful for my further career. So that was the only motive. I took a project under him, and then I joined with him. And he knew that I did project with him, but then he told that he is doing excellent job. He is working on materials, and why don't you continue there itself? I have no problem in taking you for in my group. You are coming with your own fellowship, but this will not have much future unless you have some kind of applications. Therefore, I came back, and then I started thinking of myself. He just left the decision to me. And then I came back, and then I did a small math and a small statistics. How many of my seniors have actually doing PhD in organic chemistry? And how many of my seniors are doing inorganic and physical chemistry? Then, I find, I think only one senior was doing PhD in physical chemistry, but none of the most of the seniors and my super seniors who are pursuing PhD in organic chemistry. So when it comes to the opportunities, well, organic chemistry has a two-way. You have advantage that you can go to pharma industry if you don't want to be in the academic industry. Then the other option is that, whereas in the physical chemistry, you don't have much options. You have to pursue further in the academics. So what made me to pursue only in the physical chemistry? So because of his advice, I decided to go for physical chemistry, and I really benefited, sir, because the pure physical chemistry will be working on only the physical concept in understanding certain reactions and all those things. However, this professor was doing something different. He is trying to understand the molecular level, what are the interaction, what are the electron and energy transfer. So all those things are really interesting. I learned many things from him. So based on his choice, his advice, and then based on my statistics, I thought, since there are less people in the physical chemistry, let me go this direction instead of going to the conventional path followed by many of the students. So I went and then again approached this professor. He was again asked me why you want to do the PhD, all those things. And he took me for PhD, and then I continued my PhD. So that's a small story what I had up to 2005, and then I joined PhD under his guidance. So he's also very, I think most of you would know this professor. He's a UGC National Coordinator for faculty research programs. Well, I just want to give a summary of my research, what I have done, my BSc, my PhD level, and then postdoctoral research, and what I'm doing right now. I will just give you a brief summary. At that time when I joined, my professor asked me, there are two things that he was actually majorly working on, studying the electron transfer and energy transfer reactions, which are actually the primary events, in the natural photosynthesis process. And we are trying to mimic the natural photosynthesis process. To mimic, basically, one should understand the dynamics. And that's where he was trying to understand various energy and electron transfer processes of different fluorescent molecules in various mediums, in the conventional solvents as well as the green ionic liquids, and then in the solid state thin films, etc. So that is the conventional research work he was doing. He was a he has a proven track record in that particular area. And he asked me, so this is one area that you can work. And another task that he has given me, that he is interested in studying the molecular properties, the properties in different medium. That means, when you dissolve some molecules, the electron donor acceptor molecule in solution, you will have some properties. And then when you keep the same molecule in a different phase, that is a solid phase and thin film and viscous medium, so it behaves differently. So one of his interesting was actually to study how, suppose if you can, if the molecule is present in the solid phase, how it behaves. So that was his interesting. So and the nano field, basically he was interested to prepare the nanoparticles of the molecular nanoparticles particles of different electron donor acceptor molecules, and then try to compare how these properties are different from the solution phase properties. That's what his interest. But none of the student who joined before me did not take up. But I was given an option that it is up to you what you want to do. You just decide. Then again, I took the different path, because everybody, everybody except me will be doing anyway. I will learn. I will learn whatever whatever the professor is doing, because I'm going to associate with the 5 years with him. Definitely, I'm going to learn the other subject. But if I choose this, I will have two advantages. One thing is that I will learn more. The other thing is that I will become the first person to establish some new research in the same research group. So that was actually, those are the two reasons. I have told him in the next day, sir, I want to pursue this research rather than doing the conventional thing. So what do you say? Then it's up to you, and you have to determine. You have to be ready for everything, whatever it comes in your way, and don't give up and try. And then I will support to the maximum extent possible. And I have continued my research. It was it was not again a pleasant journey, my research, because as I said, if some research is established in a particular research group, it is always easy, because the protocols, whatever you follow, it is like somebody, your senior might have done it. Definitely you can approach him, and this is the study I want to study, so how should I study? So they will definitely reveal their protocol or conventional protocols, and therefore it is easy for you to quickly study and then come up and analyze the data. But then for me, there is no senior, and at that time the School of Chemistry has no microscopy facility, because if you want to prove something that you have prepared a nanoparticle, seeing is believing, right? So without seeing nanoparticle, nobody believes you that you have prepared a nanoparticle. So microscopy will give you the information of nanoparticles. So I had to go to different places where it is available, especially in the physics department, School of Physics, it is available. I was approaching a professor, he was very nice, and then we were going. But then that is the only instrument we have, and then I have a lot of difficulty in getting the data. So in a day, I used to prepare a lot of nanoparticles, but then at the end, I don't know what I exactly formed. That was my major problem. But later on, slowly my school itself has purchased the atomic force microscope, where a couple of students were given a training. I'm one of the person, and one of the best method, one best practice practiced by the School of Chemistry is this: they give the instruments to the students. They ask them to practice, learn, and they will be trained properly, and definitely they will be trained, and then later on it will be given. Each group one student. Like that, there are 5 research groups interested in nano research. So at that time, my group is one of the group interested in nano work. So I was trained, and I could prepare different nanoparticles from molecules. This is a very difficult task. If you look at the research, most of the research actually is on metal and semiconductor nanoparticles. They are fairly easy to prepare, and you have different bottom up and then top down approaches are available. And the material, or inorganic material or semiconducting materials, they are actually they can tolerate the high temperature. Therefore, you can adopt different high temperature methods to prepare the nanoparticles. However, when it comes to the molecular nanoparticle, it is not so easy unless it is a polymer. Polymer, again, polymer nanoparticles, because of the long polymer chain. Again, you can get nice nanoparticle, but to prepare the molecular nanoparticles are very, very difficult. So that is where I did some progress, and we have published some nice results. And these are some of the structures. What you see is some of the structures what you can on the diagram. So these different electron donor acceptor molecules I have prepared initially in the laboratory, and later on with those molecules I have tried to synthesize different nanostructures. So we could find different morphologies from the same molecule and under different conditions, and a wide variety of nanostructures we have prepared. And we try to compare after preparing the nanoparticles, and we try to study how these the nano region properties are different from the molecular region properties. So those things we have studied. And here you can see we found very interesting feature that we have proved the micro heterogeneity in the nanoparticles level. On the left hand side, you can see here different colors. Each color indicate different packings of the molecules, and we have established how intermolecular interaction determines the formation of different nanoparticles. That's all I have done in the during my PhD. So after my PhD, like any other student of produced from the same school, I was looking for opportunities and abroad to go, especially to east side, and to pursue east and west side to pursue my postdoctoral studies. And then I have got one postdoctoral position in Kyoto University. Initially when I applied, I didn't look the background much, but later on, after I got the opportunity, I looked at the background of the professor whom I got. And what I see is that he was not producing papers. And last 5-6 years, he was producing only one paper. But then again, I had to decide whether to go. I will get, he said that he will give the fellowship equivalent to JSPS. And then I have to go for money, or I have to do some good piece of work. This where I was in a dilemma. Then I decided, I have to do the work what I like it, instead of just for money. I should not pursue something. So I denied that position, and then I again searching for postdoctoral position with proper checking of the professor profile, and I started applying. Meanwhile, one of my senior lab mates, of course, in fact, she was the first student of Professor Annai Samantha. She was a scientist in Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, Hyderabad. So she used to visit sometimes to our lab and to see the professor. She came up with a proposal. There is a project, Indo-Europe project, and the project is all about the new solar cell technology and developing materials for that. And the project guide is also an alumni of the School of Chemistry. So if you are interested, why don't you join? Then I said, no, madam, I wanted to go for postdoc outside. So I'm sorry, I can't join. So, and then again, after 10 days, she has again come, and then she made a call also. So have you decided anything? Why don't you join? This is an excellent thing. And they are looking for a specialist who want to establish, who are really capable of establishing a laboratory. So why don't you join and share your expertise? And so they are really happy to accommodate you. Why don't you join? Then I denied again, because after joining, I thought like, let me take up since I have denied the Kyoto position. I thought like, okay, let me take some temporary position. But again, I was thinking, if I leave that, what will happen to the project? It is not so nice if I leave it. So I explained all these things. Then she said, she came up with another moderating proposal. Well, if you get the position, you can leave. But to do everything, all process, again, it will take 6 months. Even if you have a confirmed position at abroad, they have to send the documents, and then you have to get the visa, and all this process will take roughly between 4 to 6 months. Why don't you utilize that time, and then why don't you extend your expertise to this particular research group? They are really looking for expertise who is having expertise in the fluorescence spectroscopy. And then I discussed with my professor. My professor also advised me that, well, Ravi, You have studied MSc in this school and also PhD in this school. And at that time, he's having prestigious JC Bose fellowship and Raja Ramanna fellowship. And then he told me, I have no issue in taking you and extending, giving a research associate scholarship. That's not a big deal. But then when you look back your CV, you will see only this University of Hyderabad. It's always good that you should have some kind of diversity in the institutions. So you will always learn something when you go to the new place. Why don't you try? And I will assure you that I will talk to the professor, scientists, in case if there is any difficulty, if they are not releasing you, I can deal that matter. So why don't you go like that? He advised me, and then based on that, I have gone to the IICT and I joined there for postdoctoral studies. It was again wonderful experience working with. You can see on the right hand side, Dr. L. Giribabu, very calm person, very efficient and very productive. So I learned, and then we produced almost 12 papers in less than 1.5 years. It was very pleasant staying working with him and then working with that particular IICT. And there what we have done again, we have studied the fundamental electron transfer and energy transfer reactions by preparing various molecules. All the motive is to mimic the natural photosynthesis process and then see how best we can mimic those things in the laboratory condition. That was the thing. Another interesting thing that what we did was actually the dye-sensitive solar cell, preparing the material for dye-sensitive solar cell. It is one of the new technology recently just commercialized, and some of the products are already available, especially if you are using the Mac products. You can see that. This is one of the beautiful solar energy technology, and it has got its own advantages as compared to the conventional silicon solar cells. And I will not go to the details of those particular research area, but I just want to give you an overview what this particular technology is, because the audience who are listening, I find it, I'm sure that most of you are diversified. So let me quickly skip this principle and working principle, all those things. I don't think that is really important for you. And what we did was actually we prepared materials for the dye-sensitive solar cells. Like any other solar cell, this particular solar cell also, the idea is to harvest the solar energy in a better way. The silicon solar cells will work, as you know, that it will work under sunlight. And if there is no sunlight in the night times and then cloudy days, definitely you cannot harvest the solar energy. And this particular technology was slightly different, where it uses sensitizer molecules. And the beauty of this technology is that it will work under ambient light. You have a tube light, what we call it as an ambient light, or you have a diffuse light. Okay, even if you are inside, you are getting some light, even though there is no light. So that particular light, what we call it as a diffuse light. This diffuse light, it will harvest this particular solar cell, the dye-sensitive solar cell. It will harvest the diffuse light, and it will give you the current. So that particular current can be utilized for your various, operating your gadget and etc. So that is the beauty of this particular dye-sensitive solar cells. And then it is just recently commercialized. And then we are trying to prepare better molecules, efficient molecules indigenously, and to take it to further technology development in India. That's what our aim. Okay, so in 2013, 13 onwards, I have started applying, and then to various institutions. And then this is my first application, and the first time itself, I got this opportunity to work with the Central University of Kerala, and I am one of the person joined along with other 4 faculties. We are the starting faculty, and then here we are working on a couple of problems. One is as I said, that the postdoctoral work, what I have done, I'm continuing, as I really enjoyed this particular research area. I'm continuing. And apart from that, we are trying to do some kind of work on developing fluorescent sensors in the NIR region, not in the visible region, for various sensing various elements like metal cations, anions, and various gas molecules, hazardous gas molecules, etc. And the other thing is that self-assemblies of various dipolar molecules, and then how they behave differently at the nanoscope, nano region. We are trying to understand for taking up to the OLED applications. And our research activities are funded by, of course, the Central University of Kerala as well as the SERB two projects. And since there are a lot of students, especially the MSc students and BSc students are there in the particular platform, I just want to give you some overview. I want to tell some opportunities available. In India, we have several institutes, and central universities are there. What we call it the higher learning premier institutes, and then each institute they are having their own entrance test, and you can always apply for MSc program if you are a BSc student. And if you are MSc student, there are PhD positions are available with the different faculties, but you have to crack the CSIR or JRF. Otherwise, it is very difficult to enter into the IITs and IISERs and IISc Bangalore and central universities. And our university is also in line with many of the central government institutions. This is one of the new central universities established under the Parliament Act 2009, and we are 6 faculty members. We are offering 2 programs: MSc in chemistry and PhD in chemistry. And then our MSc program actually through the CU set common entrance test organized by conducted by the Rajasthan Central University. We are one of the central university, and CU set you have to crack, and then you have to qualify, and then the admission is based on the CU set ranking. And then if you are a PhD, and you are always welcome, you can just straight away go through our website and profiles and research work, and then you can join for PhD if you really like it. And some of my practices and some of my tips to the students are summarized in this particular slide. And these are all I have practiced, and I am practicing, and I will practice all these things. My journey, as I mentioned, it was not a pleasant thing, but then as I see on each level, I have few qualities, and those qualities are something that actually drive me, and then because of those qualities only I am here. So I thought to share all these qualities, and if you like it, you can exercise, and especially if you want to pursue your career in science, definitely you should have some qualities. Of course, you may have some qualities. So you just see whether you have these qualities or not. The first and foremost thing is that you should have a self-motivation. Of course, it's not just a motivation. Motivation is like a short time, but self-motivation is something that you should have always. Unless you have this self-motivation, it's very difficult to pursue science as a career. There are a lot of things that it will come in your way, and a lot of situations arises where you will be depressed, and where you will be sad, and where you will find a lot of difficulty. Therefore, you should have always self-motivation. That will something that will take you to something to the new positions, whatever you are actually interested in. The other one is that believe yourself. I'm sure that we are all unique individuals, and then we have lots of best qualities. Unfortunately, we are only focusing our negatives. We have best qualities. We do have negatives. I do have negatives. Yes, life is all about try to avoid the try to reduce the uh, weaknesses. Okay, you try to suppress the weakness as much as you can, and at the same time you try to enhance and strengthen your positives. That's how you can move on in your life. If you don't believe in yourself, it's very difficult to move on in life. And always be curious, and especially the science students, you have to be curious to learn to do a lot of new experiment, to learn new concepts. Always be open-minded, and don't be very rigid. All these concepts, what you learn BSc may be modified when you come to MSc, and what you learn in MSc may be modified into PhD. So basic concept remain the same, but some of the new information keep on adding. And if you are not open to learn the new things, new knowledge, then difficult to move on in life. So one should have a curious mind to learn new things. The other one is plan your future. I suggest all of you to plan. Definitely, everybody has to plan. And who is planning is also important. And of course, to plan, definitely you require some kind of help in terms of friends, in terms of parents, in terms of a teacher, etc. Take the best and best, whomever you think best, you try to discuss before taking any decision. And then accordingly, you plan your future. And if you don't plan your future, then very difficult. And again, once you plan the future, and my sincere advice is that don't change, keep on changing your future. It always, creates a lots of problem. What you may not see the progress what you want to see. If you are keep on changing your future, it's very difficult. So one should have a determined, predetermined future plan, and that should not be changed too much. I just want to give one example. After my BSc, my uncle, as I mentioned, that he was a B.Ed teacher. He was working in a high school, and then after BSc, those days B.Ed program is 1 year, and if you finish 1 year, definitely you will be employed somewhere else. So he was thinking that direction to make me a teacher. But then in BSc, I determined myself by looking at the teacher. I want to become at least a lecturer in the MSc level in a college. There was a situation for me that I have to say no to him. And he was so upset. But later on, he realized myself, and by consulting with various people, he realized that he wanted to do a PG program in chemistry, and chemistry has a lot of opportunity. Why you are actually saying no? Let him do. Chemistry is also a good program. Somebody advised his friends, and then thereafter he just kept quiet. And just imagine if I just accepted whatever he says, my life would have been in a different situation. Definitely, I would have been a school teacher, but not a professor in the Central University. So once you decide, don't listen to anybody. And of course, to make the plan, you should discuss. And another point is that you should do hard work, and then it should smartly, and then continuity is something that is required. It's not just before the examination time, or it's not just before submitting the research paper, and it has to be continuous. And if you don't have this continuity, even though you are doing hard work and smart work, just occasionally you may not see the results what you wanted to see in your life. So therefore, I think this is something that throughout my life I was doing hard work. The hard work is not just reading, physically, or doing paddy work. Paddy work also I have done so much. It's all hard work. I have done very. I had a very tough time to do field at the 42 degrees centigrade sunlight. It's all hard work. Okay, but then when it comes to the study, you may not have to do all those things, but continuous study every day, 1 hour or half an hour also is a good. If you are doing continuously, it will give good results. So that's what I mean is that that you should have a continuous hard working in nature. Otherwise, difficult. The second one is avoid unnecessary comparison with others. We always try to compare with somebody. We don't be happy with what we have. It's a human psychology that we always try to compare with others. This is a very bad habit, and too much comparison with others is very bad habit in my perspective. And please avoid that, because that gives you that you may lose mental peace many times if you are doing that. Because I have seen when I joined for PhD, my juniors who joined, as I said, that the research field what I took was totally different. Therefore, for me, it took some time to produce papers, to get the result and produce papers. But later on, just after 1 year, 2 years, my juniors have started, and they started working in the conventional research work, whatever in that particular research group is going on, and they had quick publications. And I have a very tough time that, and then after some time that okay, leave that. So his research is different, my research is different. Why I should compare? And everybody problems are different. So I left that comparison at that point itself, and I don't compare even now with anybody. I work with my own pace. I have my qualities. I believe in my qualities, and then I keep work on those my goals, and then be patient. Life, you may not get the result as you expect, but be patient. And especially, it is true that if you want to be a science leader, if you want to choose science as a career, that you should have the patience. And over the time, things will happen rather than overnight. So this is what I believe: be patient, and then this is especially true that the MSc students, especially many of the students whom at least I come across, they find, even research scholars also, they find shortcuts. Now, to learn, actually, one should not find shortcuts. Learning is a continuous process, and it has its own way to learn things. And of course, for remembering certain facts, it's okay that you can find shortcuts to remember facts. But to learn subject, you should not search for the shortcuts. This is my sincere advice. And then enjoy the journey rather than the result what you get out of your hard work. That's where you will be different. Each step what you do in your life is important, and you have to cherish whatever you're doing, whatever the moment. You have to enjoy the moment, whatever you do, and whatever the work you are doing. If you don't like, you don't do it, and if you like it, do it with a full-fledged 100% mindset, and then do it, and then don't expect any result out of which, because expectation is something that will kill your peace of mind. So this is my personal experience. And then accountability is another thing that this is especially required for everybody. That if you are a undergraduate student or a PG student, our parents are investing in us, by paying fees and by paying the tuition fee, the hostel fee, and then by providing facilities, whatever you want, smartphone, laptop, etc. At the end of the day, that you have to think of yourself: am I doing justice to the investment whatever my parents are keeping? So this is always one should think of. And if you don't have this attitude, very difficult. And one should have accountability. And if you are a teacher, really, you are paid, but are you doing proper teaching? This is something that one should always question ourselves. And we always, if you are a faculty, especially, this is true that we always, if our children, when they are studying, we always question our the teachers in the school. Okay, the teachers are not teaching, these teachers are not so good. This very, I have seen my life journey. Many teachers claim that the teacher so and so is not teaching in the school level they are supposed to teach. But now, if you are a faculty member, now you are a faculty member in a particular organization, wherever you are, but are you doing the justice? This is something that always we should remember, that a teacher only can make a difference. You should think properly, and you have to do a proper justice and help the students to learn subject in a better way. That's all the role, especially higher education. The teacher role is to just facilitate the education learning process of the young minds. So accountability is actually to everybody, and one should have this accountability quality. I have, to certain extent, I follow and practice this accountability. The other one is, we have to be ready taking the challenges and facing the difficulties. One of the problems that I faced when I got a job, I was so excited. This was my first application and first interview I did, and then I got a job in Central University of Kerala. I was so excited. But when I started looking at the fine details after getting the appointment letter, I looked at, and there is no department, there is no permanent structure, there is no building, there is no place to sit. So where do I go and what do I do? This was a problem, and I made myself at one point of time, let me deny this opportunity, let me continue, because at that time I also applied the IIT Delhi. I gave one interview as well. So I thought, let me wait for IIT Delhi. But my teachers told me, again, my professors told me that, Central Universities has a lot of scope to learn and to establish yourself while, by establishing the departments, right? So that's where, again, based on their advice, I did not think much. They will give good advice. So I just pursued further. I just followed their decision, especially. And after coming here, again, whatever I expected, it's true. We don't have proper places, and we don't have, especially since I have the research background, I want to do so many things. But then there is no place to conduct my research activities. So we have one small laboratory where we are doing MSc laboratory. So what do I do? I have, at that time, I have one project. And again, I took it as a challenge. Okay, this is a challenge. Instead of thinking it's a problem, let me, it's a challenge. How I can actually overcome. So that's how I made my mindset. I took as a challenge. I'm continuing. We are trying to do whatever it is possible within the limitations. Now, and the last point I want to share with everybody, that personal growth is always important. Definitely, it is true that everybody has to grow vertically in their position. That's no doubt in that. But it is often the case, I notice that the teachers are actually, or faculty members are actually not spending any time to the organization or wherever they are associated. It's my personal experience, and it's my friends' experience and many people experience I'm sharing. It is something that one has to think of. Your growth, along with your growth, your organization growth is also important. So organization is nothing but it includes you, and then as a teacher, as a faculty member, you have a lot of responsibility to shape the this thing. And if you don't do that, and definitely, and the future has to definitely has the future has to be suffered. I just see I just go back and see my school where I have studied my MS and PhD. It's all because of the almighties and the great stalwarts, Professor Govardhan Mehta, Gurbakh Singh, and the Professor Jammis, Professor Kalidas Sen. These are all the stalwarts in chemistry. Even now, you can find them, you can Google them, you can see them. And they are the people, they laid a foundation and they have set the standards. And if you don't set the standard, if they fail to set the standards at that time, definitely uh, a person like me would not have benefited like this. So I just, the environment what you create in the organization is important, and the practices what you create is in the organization is important. Therefore, I sincerely advise and request my fellow faculty members who are listening this talk, we have to spend some time to the organization where we are working. That's all this thing. And to the students again, uh, especially to the CSR preparation, I have few tips. So many of the students, they are actually, what I noticed in my past 8 years of teaching experience, after MSc in the 4th semester, we have a dissertation program. And then during the dissertation program, they are exposed to the small research problem, and they will be doing hands-on experience, and they are really excited, and they will decide, they try to decide themselves, oh, I want to do PhD. And they will approach the teachers, and then they are asking, sir, what is the necessary and condition required? Of course, it is a JRF. Unless you have the JRF condition, JRF qualification, difficult to pursue PhD in a good institution. So, realizing this fact is really very, very bad in the 4th semester. And when you join for MSc program itself, or in the 1st semester itself, I always advocate this. I give in the counseling also to my students. Despite of all these things, that most of the students come to this, sir, I did not decide anything, my mind to what to do next. That was actually a bad practice. If you are in the 1st semester, now itself, or 2nd semester, now itself you determine what you want to do, and then accordingly you work. And these particular advices are mainly for the student who actually want to crack the CSR. For cracking the CSR, I have a small story. I think most of you would know the fish story. That is a tale of Panchantantram. There are 3 fish in a pond, and these 3 fishes are classified. One is wise, the other one is bluesy, other one is a lazy one. They are nicely enjoying in the pond. One fine morning, the wisey, the fish actually come across the 2 fishermen actually talking. Okay, so this pond is full of fish. Okay, let us come tomorrow, and then we will try to catch the fish. And then immediately the wisey fish ran to his friends, the other 2, and then disclosed whatever it happened. Let us find ways and try to go to some other pond where there is a plenty of water available and there is a small canal is there, channel is there, we will escape from here. The other two ignored and then they did not listen despite of its repeated requests, and therefore the wisey one actually escaped through a small canal, a small channel to the other nearby pond. The bluesy one and actually both were the next morning when the fisherman came and then they caught the fish. And this fish, the bluesy one is having a little bit of a small, sense of mind or presence of mind. What it does actually, it acted like, as if it died actually. The fisherman, especially in the pond, if it is a freshwater fish, if it is dead, normally people don't prefer to eat. So therefore, it pretend like it died. Therefore, what these fishermen did, they took the thing, since it is dead, they throw it in the same pond. However, the other one, lazy one, did not do anything. It was actually striking here and there, and then finally it became a fish curry. So the story actually is this: unless you realize yourself at the early stage of your career, it's very difficult to pursue to reach the heights whatever you want it to be. So the preparation, especially for CSR, has to be started from the day one you are actually attending the class. And I'm sure that most of the state universities and central universities, the syllabus is on par with the CSR syllabus and CSR and UGC syllabus, and you just have to follow the lectures given by your faculty members, and then that's how you can proceed further. So constant preparation is required from the day one, and the understanding concept is much more important rather than by hearting things. So if you understand and you can produce in your own way, and in science, definitely you don't require a very high-fi English knowledge. Small English knowledge, what you have, communication skill, what you have is good enough to succeed in life. So one should understand the concept rather than by hearting, and then study and prepare yourself just after the class. This is another important thing, that always we work just before the exams. Especially my students, my own student, I see them is just before the exam they study, and then as a result they don't understand, they produce something, we give some grade. Despite of all the repeated my requests, and so nobody study, and many times I had to postpone the exam because the student find it difficulty. If you don't plan and properly, definitely you have to pay for it, definitely. So study yourself, prepare your notes, and just after the class, when you start reading after 2-3 days itself, you will find difficulty what exactly the teacher has said. And then another point is that the teacher in the class actually will never ever tell you, especially in the higher education, the 100% is highly difficult to teach in the class. This is mainly because of the compressed time framing, semester time framing. The teacher might skip some of the less important topics with regard to the descriptive point of view. They may skip. However, CSR point of view, all these concepts are really important. What you do, so you have to study beyond the teachings, what is taught in the class, beyond the teaching, and approach the teachers. They are really very happy to guide you in a better way. When you approach them in their offices, as I said, that many of the concept cannot be explained. Most of the concept cannot be explained in the classroom. But then when you go there, the teacher will give you time and then explain the concept. That will improve your understanding. And then, from the beginning, try to develop the problems, analytical ability and problem solving capacity is something that is required. A CSR question, CSR and UGC question paper is such that you cannot answer like, what is Schrodinger equation. Nobody will ask you what is Schrodinger equation. But instead, they will give you hydrogen atom or a helium atom or helium ion. They will ask you to produce what is the Schrodinger equation of helium atom. So this is something that you should practice, and the teacher might have set you in the classroom because of this thing. He may 1 or 2 examples, but then you have to practice many problems and find out the textbook by consulting the teacher and do this. One best example, one best tip I give to all my students, I am sharing with you. Teaching is the best way to learn the subject. Hyderabad Central University, I did not take any coaching. I really felt very bad. My students, after my who studied MSc chemistry in my university, many of them getting CSR, but not just after their MSc. They are getting after 1 year of coaching. The coaching also required, at least in Kerala, I know that the Trivandrum, couple of institutes are there where they are taking almost 50 to 70,000 rupees. I'm coaching, and then whenever there is a break in your career, and then they are getting. And this is something that actually should be avoided, and it is not required coaching. If you are planned from the day one, join for PhD for MSc program. It's not easy. Many people have qualified, and I did not take any coaching for cracking CSR. In my third semester itself, I have cracked. So it is fairly easy if you are planned properly from the day one. So in the Hyderabad Central University, we have a best practice. In the hostels, we have a blackboard, and just after the class in the classroom, we actually used to pick the small pieces of the chalk piece, and we go to the classroom after dinner or after before dinner. We discuss a subject. You are in a classroom, we will see all the students, a spectrum of students. I like this, and this student is good in a particular physical chemistry. That student is good in understanding organic chemistry. This student is good in inorganic. So we try to share and discuss the subject instead of self-study. So many of our doubts used to be clarified there itself. And if there are a few doubts are there, we used to approach in the next day class teachers, and then sometimes in the offices. So if you are teaching, since you are teaching, you yourself you will realize, the beauty of teaching, that to teach properly, to teach this concept clearly, first you should understand. Unless you understand, you can't teach properly. Therefore, naturally, you will try to learn learn the subject while teaching. So that will improve your understanding capacity of the subject, and definitely it will helpful in qualifying CSR exam. And another point is that this is my general observation to all the students and everybody. We are supposed to follow the three things. We have textbooks, and we have teachers, and we have literature, and these are the standards. So I suggest most of my students also to follow these things, and please don't fully avoid, don't depend fully on the Google teacher and also YouTube. So of course, there is nothing wrong in following that, but you have to see the references, what exactly they have followed to explain so and so concept in a Google video, or in the the whatever the content, PDF document or PowerPoint, or in the website or blog, whatever it is available. You have to just cross check your the content, and then only you have to believe. So the teachers, textbooks, literature, these are the supposed to be primary sources of knowledge, and then try to follow only mostly them, and then sometimes of course you can follow YouTube. There is nothing wrong, but you always cross check and be skeptic mind, and don't believe whatever it is available in the website. So I don't know what exactly I have achieved. My goals are keep on changing, and when I was a child, as I mentioned, that my social and economical situation of my family was different. So I just wanted to uplift my family, to see some respect in the society. Therefore, I wanted to become. I just want to study. But later on, when I joined for undergraduation, then after looking at the teacher, I wanted to become a lecturer. Then, but later on, when I joined for MSc program in the Hyderabad Central University, I saw many eminent scientists, researchers. I really admired them, and then I wanted to become like that. So my, keep on my goals are keep on changing. And after joining, the Central University of Kerala, I am actually trying to do to the best to my department along with my personal growth, and to see whether I can make this particular department to the standards of what I have seen in my life. So my journey is so far is really enjoying, and I really like this quote: "Success is something. It's not a journey. It is it's a journey, but not a destination." And coming to this, this is my research group along with the MSc students who did recently. You can find here, this is my first student, Manjeev Singh, and she is Akila, and she is the Akshaya. So the three are PhD students, rest of the students are MSc students. And finally, my journey was supported definitely by all these many people, as I pointed out, my parents and relatives for their constant and encouragement, and teachers and friends, and finally the cute family what I have. So I thank one and all for your kind patience, and I'm very happy to answer if you have any questions. And once again, thank you, Dr. Felix and Dr. Nitin, for your for extending your invitation and sharing my small life journey. Thank you.
Yeah, Ravi, could you please, Dr. Ravi, could you please exit your window so that we
Yes,
can
yes,
see
I'm
you?
excited.
Yes, so it's really excellent presentation, Dr. Ravi, and you shared a lot of things and a lot of tips too. So a lot of viewers, I'm sure your talk is inspiring for many of the students and young faculties. You know, your journey from such a small village in Tenali, and from the rice paddy field, you know, your struggles, and yeah, it's really interesting. I really enjoyed your story. Yeah, keep up
Thank you.
doing great works, and my best wishes to you
Thank you.
as a inspiring faculty at Central University of Kerala, a good place to be. So yeah, because we have already the time has already been too delayed. It's almost 1 hour and 15 minutes. We can take up a couple of questions, right?
I'm
Over to
happy to
Dr.
take all
Nitin.
questions. I'm happy to
Yes,
take all questions.
Yeah,
yes, Dr. Nitin. Yes.
I'm
yeah,
sorry for my lengthy presentation.
Yeah, no problem.
yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ravi, for such an inspiring and very informative talk. So I just want to read a few quotes like education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And the confidence and hard work is the best medicine to kill the disease called failure. It will make you a successful person. So I won't go into the details of your journey and all because already you have shared. So as we are running short of time, so we'll just take questions right now. And the first question is from Sanjeev Kumar. Sir, I want to know about your views on importance of organic nanoparticles in drug delivery.
Hello, Mr. Sanjeev, right? The question was asked by Mr. Sanjeev. That is another interesting research area. It is going on. The drug delivery, that is one of the drug targeted delivery. It's not that a simple delivery. Drug targeted delivery is a one fantastic research work is going on. And I really don't know what exactly you wanted to know. And there is a great work has been done already, and people are trying to deliver the nanoparticles rightly to the targets, rather than when you take a medicine, it is going to the different parts of our body instead of the place where exactly we have an issue. So this is something what actually thought of, and then many people in the nano domain are working on that. I don't have really expertise in that, but I am aware of that research topic.
Yeah, Dr. Felix.
All right, so I will also pick up one question here. Veda Krishnan is saying, very inspiring. Can you share about possibility of natural dye sensitized cell? For example, anthocyanins, etc.
Yeah. Well, madam, Veda, right? Dr. Veda, right? The next presentation. Well, thank you, madam. Actually, this is a very important question. And the dyes, these dyes are natural dyes. For example, we have blackberries, blueberries, red berries, and many berries are available. And they do have certain pigments. And because of this, those pigments, we see the color. And then, of course, the color is something that it is absorbing. And that is a primary characteristic any pigment should have. And for harvesting solar energy also, one should have that ability. And if you go to the details, you should have a pigment or a molecule which can, absorb most of the solar radiation. However, these dyes are having, this dye molecule, if you see the molecular structure, they don't have any kind of the charge transfer, path. Therefore, most of the dyes, natural dyes, which are tried so far, did not give efficiency, not even 0.5% efficiency. Or, as per the research, literature what I have, I started writing a book on this dyes and solar cells. As of now, I find this most of these pigments, naturally available pigments, anthocyanins and then anthraquinones, and then these blueberries has a lot of other dyes. It's not a one, raspberries. They are not one pigment. They are having different pigments, and they are having different functional group. And as a result, the electron transfer is not in a proper way. Therefore, it is not giving proper efficiency. So if you want to use it for commercial purpose, definitely the natural dyes are not the option. Because, after all, we want to harvest energy, and we want to use it for some powering some gadget, for let's say. It requires some kind of 1 volt, and it doesn't give that 1 volt the power. So that's the problem. So efficiency is a major issue that is not seen. So far, so many studies were done with the different naturally available dyes, but none of them gave good results in terms of efficiency. And that is the reason why we wanted to synthesize molecule in the laboratories.
Okay, so the next question is from Anil Kumar. I would like to hear a briefing on development of fluorescent material. What all are the characteristics of these materials to use on solar cells?
Fluorescence and solar cell are slightly different. If you want to prepare a fluorescent material, it requires certain conditions, like, it should be there should be a conjugation, and then it should not have any flexible bonds in the molecule, and you should I think I really wonder whether I don't know what is his qualification. May I know, Dr. Nitin?
No, it is not mentioned.
Okay. So there is a famous scheme that is called Jablonski diagram, which explains all the radiative and non-radiative pathways. And if you want to make a fluorescent material, one should have a molecule, a cyclic molecule with a conjugation with less flexible bonds. So that will be a fluorescent molecule. Well, and then if you want to make a fluorescent, that's all the concept. Certain general concepts are there, you can prepare it. But then there is nothing to do with harvesting the solar energy and the fluorescence. But then we use it for something else. You want to, in the dye-sensitized solar cell, if you want to prepare some molecule for harvesting energy, it basically, if you see the principle, it is giving after absorbing the solar energy, it is injecting some electrons, and then this electron transfer actually has a major role in harvesting the efficiency. And if you want to study the electron transfer harvesting ability, definitely you need some tool or some signal from your molecule. And if your molecule is having a fluorescence, okay, you can follow certain rules and then you can study. And if your molecule, most of the cases, these dye sensitizers, they are less fluorescent or non-fluorescent. And then you can go for absorption studies to study the electron kinetics and to estimate the efficiency of the solar cells. So both are different. The point I want to clarify is that both are slightly different entities, and fluorescence is one small concept that we use it for studying the dynamics of the electron transfer. That's all.
Yeah. Dr. Felix?
Yeah, because the time is up now, I will pick up my last question here from the poll. Suma ND is asking, wish to know what are the extension activity to society as a chemistry teacher and a researcher. So maybe she's also asking, have you ever been part of an extension activity to society as a chemistry teacher? Yes.
Yeah. Well, there are many plans actually. This is interesting and it is touching my heart also. You know, we are facing a lot of limitations in the new central universities and with limited facilities. This is something that we wanted to extend, but however, the governance also where you are working is important. Uh, once there are a couple of requests have come. We have an instrument called atomic absorption spectrometer, and then that will allow you to estimate how much metal content is there. For example, your drinking water is having a lot of metals, carcinogenic metals, then definitely it's not good. That is one technique that is available in the department, and we wanted to help to the nearby society, but we have a lot of limitations. This is one thing. The other one is, whenever I go to my village, I try to teach and I try to interact. I try to take moral classes, and to do in a massive way. As of now, I haven't done. To be frank, I haven't done any massive the extension activities other than we have conducting, organizing some good conferences, all those things. I haven't done anything, but this is something that I wanted to do. I just started a little bit. I'm sure that you have seen. I started a quiz program in popularizing chemistry, how chemistry is really helping during this pandemic situation. Recently, I have posted a quiz also. Well, madam, thank you for asking these questions, and it really remind me what I have to do. Thank you.
Yeah. So I have just a couple of questions, then we'll conclude the session. The next question is from Sanjeev Kumar. How fluorescent nanoparticles used as an organic dye for visualization of proteins?
Yes, this is one of my interesting. Well, you need not to do. See, one way is that if you want to look at the cells, plant or any human cells, basically you are going for optical microscopy or electron microscopy. And optical microscopy, if you are using, definitely you need some light source. And if it is coming, if the light is coming from the material itself or the cell itself, that is really nice. And that is where the biology people, they do the staining. There are lots of staining molecules are there, which gives a lot of fluorescent. For example, rhodamine, and is a best example that it gives a nice red light, and then people will be dissolving your material, or a small amount of solution will be used in the cells, and then it will absorb, and the cells will be absorb the fluorescent material. And when you shine light under the fluorescent, the confocal microscope, it will give you light, and then we will try to capture and we try to understand the morphology of the cell. Developing. So what is this question exactly?
How fluorescent nanoparticles used as an organic dye for visualization of proteins?
The nanoparticle will not be helpful, and the solution phase is much better. Solution, because once you have a nanoparticle cannot penetrate all the portions in the cell. So I think nanoparticle is not a right option. And if you want to just to visualize your cells, the best option is that you choose your, of course, depending upon your instrument, you have to choose your dyes. You cannot choose what you want. So instruments are limited by excitation source, etc. So the best option is that you dissolve solution which are soluble in water mostly, and then you coat onto your sample. Then it will give you nice fluorescent, and it will give you nice images. That's all. So one should not use a nanoparticle for visualizing.
Yeah, thank you. And the last question of the today's session, it is from my side. As you have started from the schools in village, and now at your Central University of Kerala as an assistant professor. So what are the things which you want to change, as a policymakers, because you have gone through different adverse conditions. So what are the things which you really want to change in the system?
Well, first of all, I think if our managers are good, definitely the rest of the people will be good. So I think I will start from there. Given an opportunity, I will start from the choosing the best people. And if you are choosing the best people, rest becomes history. So this is where I see the problem in the root level rather than in the surface level. So what we see in a routine day in a department or in a school or in an organization is actually a surface. And first we have to start there, and then it is a continuous process, and one should have enthusiasm, and one should go along with the system, and then try to make them understand it is a teamwork. It's not a solo work. I think that's what we are trying to do in our level best. We don't have a couple of facilities, but then we slowly started building the department. With all sophisticated thing, we have very decent instrumentation, and in the department we are actually giving hands-on experience to the students, and then. We take the problems in a collectively. I try to discuss with the people in a collectively while decision making, all those things. And I always ask my HODs or dean or whoever it is. So I ask the questions, and then at the same time I give the suggestions, and then at the same time I'm ready for taking the challenge or responsibility, whatever it comes to me. I don't escape taking the responsibility. So. To me, I think what I feel, what I have seen in the new Central University, based on the consultation of with the various friends, the managers are wherever the manager is good, the universities are flourishing. So I really see that thing. So that's what I want to make the difference. And given an opportunity, I want to really bring in changes in choosing the best people into the system. That's where you can make the difference.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ravi, for sparing time with us. And I request Dr. Felix to now conclude this session.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dr. Ravi. It is really amazing and inspiring, and you have spent a considerable time explaining to, attending the questions from the audience as well. So thank you so much for, for being part of the Young Science Leader series. And I hope you're also guiding some interns, right?
Yes.
How many interns are working with you?
So there are 6 or 7 students. I have written a mail, but unfortunately, most of them are not turning up. That there is one girl is really nice, and she's from Kollam, Firoza or something, and we started working on. She wanted
Very good.
She wanted to work on something carbon dioxide sequestration, and we started working on. And let's see how it goes on.
Yeah, my best wishes, Dr. Ravi. And I'm getting this kind of response from many of the mentors that the students are not really turning up for the weekly meeting. So if you are a student watching this program, my humble request is please be attentive and make these 2 months really productive, because this internship is now going to be really good turning point, most probably for your life. And the mentor that you're going to get is for really lifelong. You can always contact him or her, for any kind of advices or even recommendation letter. And even 2 months of the internship can even turn into a good mini review paper. Who knows? So it all depends upon you, students. So yeah, thanks a lot, Dr. Ravi. I'm really humbled for you to, to be part of our program as well as sharing your journey. And yeah, I totally enjoyed at a personal level. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. So, Dr. Nitin, would you like to add some words?
No, just today evening we have Dr. Veda Krishnan with us.
Yeah, let me introduce her, and I will just share the slide. So, Dr. Veda's talk is exactly at 4:30. So, please join us. She is a scientist, senior scale. A well-accomplished young scientist by herself. So see you all at 4:30. I'm waiting for this talk. Goodbye till then.
Thank you. Goodbye.